Western Oregon. This is NBC 16 News at 5:30.
8 employees at the National Frozen Food Corporation and 2 family members confirmed positive for coronavirus. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Jacqueline Mazer. The food processing plant in Albany distributes frozen food to major food companies across the country. Now those products and employees' jobs are on hold. NBC 16's Stephanie Rothman has the latest.
We're here right outside the gates of the National Frozen Food Corporation, where it's been quiet, but they have seen a lot of activity as they've had to close down the plant to get some deep cleaning to ensure that no more workers are possibly exposed to contract the virus.
The plant shut down Thursday night and will remain closed throughout the weekend to deep clean. Several sanitation workers can be seen spraying down parts of the factory outside. General Counsel and Vice President of National Frozen Foods, Stephen Schlossberger, says they were aware of symptoms before the employees tested positive. Each took paid sick leave as soon as they displayed symptoms. The Oregon Occupational Safety and Health Administration opened their investigation Tuesday.
It can vary from a matter of weeks to months when we can complete an inspection. It can even be less amount of time than that.
According to Corvin, more than 3,100 coronavirus-related complaints have been filed against workspaces in Oregon. Several of those have directly involved the Albany plant. The facility processes 1 million pounds of frozen food per day for national companies. They employ more than 300 people who are now waiting to hear when they can get back to work.
Counsel for the plant tells us they're considering opening back on Monday. This all depends whether or not they're given the green light by health officials. If they are able to open it back up, they will go back to automated lines, keeping workers even farther away from each other than they already were. This is a developing story, so we will bring you updates as we get them. Reporting in Albany, I'm Stephanie Rothman.
In our area, Lane County Public Health officials reported a second suspected coronavirus death. Lane County Public Health spokesperson Jason Davis says the patient, a 59-year-old man, was being treated in the hospital at the time of his death for coronavirus. Davis expressed condolences to the man's family during today's daily coronavirus briefing. Davis says the man had pre-existing medical conditions.
Of a community member from the Eugene Springfield area. This is a 59-year-old gentleman who passed away late last night from multiple organ failure, we believe, due to complications from COVID-19.
No new cases were reported today, keeping the number of confirmed cases at 50. Davis says 22 of those patients recovered. There are currently no COVID-19 patients in the hospital in Lane County. As a reminder, Lane County Public Health does have a non-emergency call center available to answer any questions. That number's on your screen, 541-682-1380. Now, due to a decrease in calls last week, starting tomorrow, the call center is open Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. If the volume of phone calls increase, those hours will expand again if needed. And to recap numbers in Oregon, there are 2,181 cases and 87 deaths. About 2/3 of the cases are in the north across Washington, Multnomah, and Marion counties. In our region, Benton County stands at 27 cases, including 5 deaths. Lynn County has 67 cases and 7 deaths. Again, here in Lane County, we remain at 50 cases with 2 suspected deaths now. Deschutes County has 70 cases. Douglas County went down 1 case to 23 cases total. This after the Oregon Health Authority says 1 case originally reported as being in Douglas County was later determined not to be a case. More cases reported at the Shutter Creek Correctional Institution have brought the number of cases in Coos County to 8 right now. Well, just a couple of days after Bay Area Hospital in Coos Bay announced 71 employee furloughs, Oregon Governor Kate Brown says she's lifting her order delaying non-urgent surgeries. Now, hospital officials are working on a plan to bring some of those employees back. The spokesperson for Bay Area Hospital says they will first have to decide which services they plan to resume before they bring employees back. They're also tasked with figuring out when and how the reopening will begin.
We really want to get our staff back to work, and we want to, open our arms to the community again as far as elective procedures go. But we absolutely have to build a plan that has everybody's safety in mind.
Dion says they also have to weigh the criteria set by the federal government, the governor, and union contracts. She anticipates there will be a lag in patient volume as they will now need to convince the community their hospital is safe. Coquille Valley Hospitals on the coast is offering antibody testing to the community. The hospital's drive-up or walk-up blood draw will detect whether a patient had an infection and developed antibodies, a defense system, against the disease.
The will help patients better understand their risks going forward, especially as we look to the recovery phase, and will help medical professionals understand the spread of the disease.
No appointments are necessary. It takes about 3 to 5 days to get results. The test does not diagnose active or recently infected coronavirus cases. Lang says it's reassuring to know if they've been infected and are now possibly immune. Test takers must be 2 weeks without fever or cough. Testing is conducted weekdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and on weekends from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at a tent set up at the hospital campus. Well, the Oregon Department of Human Services reports calls to their child abuse hotline have decreased by about 70% during the stay-at-home order. Here in Lane County, new cases have also seen a sharp decrease. Lane County's District Attorney Patty Perlow says this doesn't mean abuse isn't happening. It's just not being reported as children are away from school and programs and friends due to school closures. Perlow also says domestic violence hotlines in Lane County have seen a surge in calls recently. However, reports to law enforcement are not increasing.
I don't know the reason for it. I just think the public needs to be aware of the circumstances and to keep an eye out for vulnerable people in our community.
Well, if you see something, say something. If you suspect someone is being abused, please report it. You can also call the Women's Space Crisis Hotline or online chat for help. DHS is encouraging people to check in on families and offer support, saying social distancing doesn't mean isolation. You can visit our website at NBC16.com for a list of resources. Well, earlier this month, Governor Kate Brown announced school closures for the rest of the academic year, prompting schools across Oregon to make the switch to online learning. NBC 16's Angelina Dixon tells us how Springfield teachers are dealing with the adjustments of distance learning.
School might not look like this for the rest of the school year. No hallways full of students, no classrooms, no teachers at the front of the class.
And check in with a teacher that they know.
Instead, teachers have taken it to online classes to continue the rest of the school year. This is, of course, to comply with social distancing requirements and to make sure students and staff stay well out of the way of the coronavirus.
I think what to me is so kind of outstanding, or the highlight of this, is how much our kids are showing that they're adaptable. I think it was almost maybe harder on us as teachers figuring out what's the best way to check attendance or the best way to support students that are needing more help.
Hoopert is a math and science teacher who is now teaching in a brand new world. She says she's answering questions parents may have about the distant learning program. But Ricky Hewling, a math teacher from Agnes Stewart Middle School, says there were other initial struggles.
Has been the biggest first hurdle, I think, with teachers also working so hard themselves, getting used to using technology and where they'll set up in their home and all of the logistics that go into having kids at home and teaching kids.
Another obstacle to tackle for younger students is not only making sure educational needs are met, but also if they're feeling supported and motivated. Every school day, Hewling says students check in with their teachers and begin their classes through a virtual classroom on Google. The two teachers say parents may have questions about assignments or classes, and they want parents to feel free to contact them as much as possible. In Springfield, I'm Angelina Dixon reporting.
A person is dead after a single car crash on Cedar Flat Road Thursday evening. Lane County Sheriff's Office says McKenzie Fire and Rescue located a Toyota Tacoma that went off the road into a tree and caught fire. The identity of the person has not yet been released. The investigation is ongoing. Well, a trip on 13th Avenue in downtown Eugene is a different experience right now for drivers and those on bikes. That's because construction is underway on what will eventually become a 2-lane bikeway. Tom Adams is live tonight in the studio with more on a first for downtown Eugene transportation. Tom, it's all about safety.
That's right, Jacqueline. Bike travel can get really heavy along East 13th between the U of O campus and downtown. The most recent quarterly count by the city was a daily average of 1,100 people on bikes using that route on 13th. Well, planners are hoping to make those trips a lot safer.
The roots of this project go back 7 years. That's when a student group at the U of O noticed a problem, and they did a study. They found hundreds of students on bikes were going westbound on eastbound 13th.
So folks were riding on sidewalks, they were riding in parking lanes or against traffic, and that presented several safety issues.
Transportation planners say they're ready to fix those issues with the yet-to-be-named 13th Avenue Bikeway.
It's our first really urban, central downtown two-way protected bikeway.
The bikeway will run on 13th from Lincoln Street east to Alder. Dual bike lanes will be set up on the north side of 13th, with the traffic lane shifting south.
The big difference is that bikes will be able to move in both directions on 13th Avenue, eastbound and westbound, and they'll have their own signals at the signalized intersections.
That way, Dunbar says, bikes won't move at the same time that vehicles move through the intersections.
And that's one of our major outcomes, is we wanted to separate traffic, and so that we would reduce the amount of conflicts.
A raised concrete barrier will separate the bike lanes from the car lanes. This project will eliminate the north side parking spots on those blocks along 13th. The total price tag, $3.4 million.
We think that it's really going to attract folks and really solidify that corridor as the primary way to bike or walk between campus and downtown.
Dunbar tells me the project should be completed this coming September.
And he adds the city will create more parking spots along Patterson Street and some of the other side streets to partially make up for the lost spots on 13th. ODOT funding is paying for $2.7 million of the total cost. Jacqueline?
All right, Tom, thank you. Coming up on your only local news at 5:30, people battling drug addiction are an especially vulnerable group during this pandemic. Learn more from the HIV Alliance.